Hello guys, Crispy here, welcome back to another video. In this one, my friends, I'm finally gonna be testing the Radeon RX 9070 in 20 popular titles. Oh yeah. Going over its specs first, this is an RDNA 4.0 architecture GPU. It has 3584 shading units, 224 TMUs, 128 ROPs, 56 RT cores, and the RT performance has improved quite a lot compared to the last generation on AMD cards. Then it also features 16GB of GDDR6 memory, you know, the correct amount for a $550 GPU. And it's also running on a 256-bit memory bus with a bandwidth of 644.6 GB per second. It also features PCI Express 5.0 x 16, and I really like this part, guys. It has double 8-pin power connectors because it's a 220-watt TDP GPU. However, this one is the Powercolor Hellhound version, and in its OC mode, which is how it comes out of the box, it actually consumes a little bit more at 230 watts. Still pretty efficient, as you'll see, for the performance it gets. Now, as I said, the MSRP of this GPU is $550 US. That's the exact same as the RTX 5070, which is a little bit slower, like around 9-10% slower at 1440p resolution, which I'll be testing this on. And the NVIDIA GPU also only has 12GB of VRAM instead of the 16 that you get over here. So it looks like you get a decent deal over here compared to that GPU, right? But then you remember that the XT version is only $50 more expensive, and I guess that's the one to get. But hey, that's enough intro, let's put this thing to the test at 1440p resolution, shall we? And first up we got Cyberpunk 2077. Look at this, guys, looking beautiful, buttery smooth with 100+ frames per second at the start. Damn. Alright, we're playing at 1440p resolution utilizing the Ultra settings preset without FSR and without these options right here. This is native 1440p Ultra. No ray tracing yet. I will try it out a little bit later, of course. But yeah, it still looks really good here on the Ultra settings, even without the ray tracing. We still got some decent looking reflections, although not accurate ones. But yeah, the overall presentation of the game here at 1440p Ultra settings is really gorgeous, and we're getting around 100 FPS average, so that is also absolutely amazing. Of course, buttery smooth. In terms of how it compares with the RTX 5070, I see that it's around like 5 to 6 FPS faster here in my benchmark run. Goodbye, Bob. Did you do that on purpose? He asked. Oh boy, he's still not used to it, is he? Anyway, around here, yeah, the 5070 was actually dropping into the 80s. This one is only dropping into the lower 90s, around the roundabout here. So yes, this is slightly faster than the RTX 5070 in Cyberpunk. There is absolutely no need to utilize upscaling here at native resolution with the Ultra settings, so as long as you keep that ray tracing off, it's going to be buttery smooth. Really nice. But let's try it with that ray tracing, shall we? So I'm gonna use Ray Tracing Ultra here, disable resolution scaling altogether first, so we can see the native resolution results, disable these options here as well, and I will restart the game to make sure it fully applies. And here we have it, guys, Ray Tracing Ultra preset at 1440p native resolution. It's nothing amazing, obviously. I mean, you lose a ton of performance compared to the Ultra preset without ray tracing here, but it is actually super similar to what the RTX 5070, its competitor on the green side, did in this title. That was also getting around 40-ish frames per second on average. Now, where they haven't closed the gap, especially in Cyberpunk 2077, or particularly in Cyberpunk, goodbye Bob, by the way, is in terms of the upscaling, guys, because this game still doesn't support a good form of upscaling for AMD GPUs. So we got FSR 2.1, FSR 3, which is worse than 2.1 in this title, and XeSS 1.3. Now I'm gonna use FSR 2.1 quality first, and you can see a totally different look to the game already. It's very shimmery, it has a ton of pixelation, it has ghosting around the car and on the back of the car as well, if you look at the wheels, for example, there. Yeah, it's It's not a good look, guys, honestly. It does improve our FPS by a whole lot. It's 60 plus all of the time at the moment, so it's doing a great job at that. But in terms of the upscaler quality itself, DLSS 4 is way above what this does. I mean, it's FSR 2.1 after all. And AMD has FSR 4, but it's not available in this title, unfortunately. If I go here to the Radeon settings, it shows no FSR 4 support in this title. So yeah, guys, it's a bit of a shame. I really hope the developers of this game actually implement FSR 4 into it, or maybe AMD actually makes a driver update that makes support for this game as well to override it with DLSS 4. Now, this is XeSS Ultra Quality, still looks very shimmery to my eyes, and I'm using a 1440p monitor here at 24 inches, so the PPI is higher than it would be on a 27-inch monitor, and it's really shimmery anyway, so yeah, even with XeSS, it's not a good look, guys. So yeah, if you want to play with ray tracing, I think I would wait for them to implement FSR 4 into the game, or for AMD to release a driver update to override the FSR 4 inside of this title. You know what, guys? I have intrusive thoughts now. I want to do ray tracing overdrive native resolution first, okay, just to see how it looks. And oh boy, okay, 20 FPS. It drops into the teens at times. Obviously, this is completely unplayable. It's also unplayable on the RTX 5070, but AMD GPUs seem to be a little bit more hit with the path tracing than the NVIDIA counterparts, but obviously the path tracing stuff is absolutely unplayable without the help of upscaling on either GPUs, and on this tier of GPUs as well. It's just completely awful, basically. Let's enable FSR quality here, please. Oh, thank God it gets 30 FPS. Okay, that's much better. Still not a viable option in my opinion. I think you should utilize 1440p ultra settings and call it a day here. It's gonna be buttery smooth, as you saw, 100 FPS, and a really nice experience, and gorgeous one at the same time. I wouldn't really utilize ray tracing until they add FSR 4 into this game. Next up is the recently released on PC The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, guys, and this one is looking absolutely gorgeous at 1440p resolution with FSR 4. I did the override thingy where you press Alt-R inside of the game and go to the Radeon settings right here, enable FSR 4 super resolution, and then restart the game to fully apply it, and now we have it here showing up in the menu, and this is by far the best anti-aliasing available for this GPU. And over here you can see that I have everything maxed out aside from the motion blur intensity, as well as chromatic aberrations and stuff like that. And we lose about like 6 frames per second, 5 or 6 frames per second compared to TAA here by the use of FSR 4 native AA, but it's not smudgy like TAA is, super blurry and stuff, you know, and it's not pixelated like the FSR 3.1 native AA is. This is doing a fantastic job. It's buttery smooth as well. It's maxed out settings at 1440p, so it's beautiful, even though this is a PS4 game, you know, a PlayStation game that released years ago. It still looks phenomenal on PC, and if you have a recent GPU, it also plays really, really well. Now we're dropping into the 70s here, but this is one of the most intensive areas in the game, actually, this super dense forest area. It might drop here and there. Actually, I've seen one area where it drops a little bit more than this, but it will never drop from 60 frames per second. We're well above that on average, as you can see there. But let's turn on that FSR frame generation now, along with AMD Anti-Lag 2 to lower down that latency that comes with frame generation. And here, yeah, things are looking really similar, maybe slightly softer, but it's really hard to tell actually. And now it's an ultra smooth experience, guys. I mean, you could actually max out a 165 Hz monitor at times with these settings. So yeah, if you prefer the native results, 80 FPS or 80 to 90 most of the time is absolutely great of an experience already. But if you have a high refresh rate monitor, phenomenal experience here actually. And let's move on to the next one. Now it's a competitive shooter, Counter-Strike 2 at 1440p using very high settings with 4 times MSAA to max out the GPU all of the time. Okay, here we go. It seems like it's very similar to what the 4070 Super did or the 5070 in this title. Both of those GPUs are very similar anyways, and this is just that with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, it seems like, at least so far. Not too bad, you know. It's still slightly faster most of the time than the 5070, but it's not by much. Alright, we got this, guys. 4th place. No! That was close. That was close there. Probably just ping, right? It's never my fault. But yeah, guys, the overall experience is really dang smooth. We got anti-lag 2 enabled here as well, which makes everything really snappy and feeling very snappy. It's awesome. That's exactly what we want, obviously, on a competitive shooter title like Counter-Strike. And the FPS are super high, so it's going to be a buttery smooth experience. Yeah, almost got that one. Come on. Alright. Where are the guys? Maybe he killed the other one, I don't know. Okay, got another. Okay, okay, you know what, guys? Maybe I should go with the AK-47, because I am feeling that today. Yeah, there it is. Also feeling the AWP. We're doing some great shots today. Okay, I know there is an AWP guy. Yes, there he is. Okay, another one down. Good stuff, good stuff. Let's keep on going here. No problems. Yes, that guy was hearing us. Okay, all good. 1 bullet. Yes. I was dreaming a little bit there. Come on, come on, come on. One more. One more. No, not. Get this one. Freaking protect. Yeah, we got 5 kills there with headshots, but then I needed to reload. And 1 second left. We finished 2nd place. Not bad at all, though. That was really nice. Now it's my favorite game coming out this year so far, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And we're playing this one at the 1440p resolution using ultra settings, FSR native AA enabled, and I am overwriting that with FSR 4 over here on the Radeon settings, as you can see. And compared to the RTX 5070 or 4070 Super from last generation, this is basically the same performance. It's actually a little bit slower than the 5070 here, still providing an awesome experience, of course. It's well above 60 FPS all of the time. I'm going into a forest area and just a little bit dropping into the 70s there. 69, 1% lows, nice. But yeah, guys, I mean, price-performance ratio, it's probably reasonable for this generation, but if you compare it to last generation's cards, 4070 Super was already providing around this performance, 7900 GRE as well, somewhat, you know, so it's not really that amazing, really. The amazing part that comes with this GPU in particular is FSR 4, which is a major improvement over FSR 3. It's also a little bit more intensive, so it's dropping our FPS here slightly, but I would utilize it because, again, it looks quite a bit better. But again, I still feel like these GPUs should be a little bit cheaper than they are, especially for this card in particular, only being $50 less expensive than the XT variant, which is quite a bit faster. Still, it can provide an awesome experience here at 1440p resolution. As you can see, you could utilize like FSR quality if you really want to push things up a little bit in terms of performance, but it stays above 60 like 99% of the time. You shouldn't really worry about that too much. But I'm still gonna try that quality FSR, just gonna add just a little bit of sharpness there. And this is FSR 4 on quality, and it's the first time that I'm seeing FSR 4 quality in this particular title. It pushes things up into the 100s in terms of performance and FPS. That's quite nice. It was dropping to 70s, 60s around here, and now it's buttery smooth. And in terms of sharpness, since I added that little bit of sharpness in the slider, it's really good looking. I don't have a problem with this whatsoever. It looks really similar to 1440p native resolution. Like, this is the first impression here of FSR 4 quality in this particular title that I'm doing, and I would definitely not mind playing like this. So yeah, great stuff here. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is an awesome title. I totally recommend it. There's no stuttering. It's great looking. And it has physics like this. It's awesome, right? Now it's Forza Horizon 5. This game is extremely well optimized and beautiful as well. Look at these graphics. I mean, 150 FPS, and we're using 1440p resolution with TAA and the maximum settings. All right, I manually set everything to the absolute maximum here. Start counting our frames, 160s. Beautiful, buttery smooth, high refresh rate experience. That's what I love to see, and that is kind of what we've lost in recent years, guys. Aside from like the odd game here and there, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 for example being very smooth, most games these days are never going to reach 160 FPS with 9070 level of GPU performance or 5070 GPU performance without frame generation, anything like that, and upscaling. Whoop! No! No! We lost our spoiler. I don't want to drive this without a spoiler. Let's go back. There we go, we're fine, approaching the city this time, and 130s once again, so it drops to about the same values as inside of bushes and stuff, low 130s, but it's still a super high refresh rate experience all of the time, no doubt about it. This is amazing. This game also doesn't really have any problems with like TAA blurriness and stuff, so no need to use FSR, native AA and stuff like that. The TAA implementation here is wonderful, and it drops down to 118 FPS, absolute minimum, because the tunnel area is actually the most intensive area inside of the entire game. So yeah, it's a flawless experience in Forza Horizon 5. From one of the best optimized titles to one of the worst ones, we got Elder Scrolls for Oblivion at 1440p resolution using high settings. I did disable Lumen hardware ray tracing, and I'm using software ray tracing on low, because, you know, that's really intensive. And the upscaling set to native AA with FSR 4, as you can see in the Radeon settings. And with these settings, we can actually achieve 60 plus FPS most of the time. I mean, you do lose a little bit of visual quality by not going with the hardware ray tracing set to high, for example, instead, but then you'd be at like 50 to 60 frames per second as well. So to keep it above 60 frames all of the time with stutters, because stutters are a part of UE5 and this is based on UE5, you'll need to utilize these settings. High still looks really good, so that's not really that big of an issue. Oh my god. Why are you after me? I'm here with Roach. Stop hitting my Roach, please. 69 FPS, by the way. But yeah, why? Also, that water looks pretty terrible. I mean, yeah. Look at that. That's where the high ray tracing, hardware ray tracing comes into play. It makes the water look a lot better. But whoa, my gosh. This guy is actually hitting us now. Okay, he's a bad boy. Come on, Roach. Let's go. Let's get out of here, buddy. Also, around here, it's dropping into the low 60s at times. Okay, and it even drops into the 50s. So, it's not going to be stable fully at 60 plus 100% of the time. And it's a big disappointment, but again, it just comes down to the optimization in this game not being there. Now it's Call of Duty Warzone. We're playing at 1440p using the extreme settings preset. I'm just going to disable the depth of field. This is it. Oh, just in time. And here we go. Looking at the entire map from above, we're getting very high refresh rate experience here, 140 FPS plus all of the time, and in this game the Radeon GPUs actually perform incredibly well compared to the NVIDIA counterparts. It really likes AMD GPUs, and well, that's great. With the 9070 over here, you can expect a really nice and buttery smooth experience all of the time, even on extreme settings preset. This is not the maximum settings inside of this game, by the way, but it looks pretty much the same, and I mean, those FPS are just amazing, of course, so no problems here. Okay, we got a couple of them here. They also got us. Zooming in, drops our FPS by quite a lot, as you can see. We're getting 160s. Zooming in puts us into 120s. That's a big drop there, but not really that noticeable. Even on a higher refresh rate panel, it still feels incredibly smooth, of course. And I really like the fact that they got this map back into the game. It's looking great as well with the graphical tweaks that they made. The lighting and stuff reminds me kind of Battlefield 4, you know? That was awesome. And yeah, we can actually have an awesome experience here. Where's the batteries? Okay, come on, no shields on him. Come on. Okay, I'm trying to... Oh, hello, there's a guy here. Oh boy, let's be careful. Let's be careful. There he is. Got him. Good. What? There's another one! Why am I not expecting another one at the same place? Ever. Now it's Alan Wake 2, and this is quite a bit faster than the RTX 5070 here as well. I am very impressed about it. We're at 1440p native resolution, utilizing maximum settings here, aside from the ray tracing, which is turned off. And let's start counting our FPS. We're around 60 FPS, and the 5070 was getting low 50s at the start there. Now this is dropping into the 40s and 50s, of course, because this area is more intensive, but still, it's a little bit of a difference there compared to the other GPU from NVIDIA, and it's a nice increase in performance, about like 10%, I think. The thing is, obviously, this is still not a perfect experience. It drops from 60 FPS very often, so you might as well just play on like high settings instead of maximum settings in this title, or utilize some upscaling. Now, thankfully, this is probably the best implementation of FSR2 that I have ever seen so far. It gets just a little bit softer, but it still looks really good. There's no major pixelation or shimmering here. In the finer branches over here, you can actually tell a little bit of noise, but it's really minor. It's, again, the best implementation that I've seen with FSR2 enabled. And it's also enough to put us above 60 FPS all of the time, which is quite nice as well. Even here in this area, it only drops into the 70s. And again, it looks really similar to the native resolution stuff, even though it's FSR2. So super impressed with this implementation, actually. There's also no FSR4 override, which is a little bit of a shame in this title, guys. I would like to have seen that, but I guess developers need to implement it, or maybe AMD needs to push more driver updates to update more games with FSR4's override. I don't know. Now, what about that ray tracing, though? Let's try using medium RT here, which sets path tracing to medium as well. Very intensive stuff. And even with the FSR quality, yep, it's not happening here, guys. Path tracing is really demanding, and even the upscaler doesn't really save it. As you can see, it's dropping into the low 30s at times. It's also going above 12 gigabytes of VRAM allocation, by the way, so that's interesting to see as well. So having 16 gigabytes does make a little bit of a difference there. So yeah, it's not amazing, guys. If it had FSR4, it would probably have been a lot better than this, but yeah, as it stands, I would stay away from ray tracing in this one, even with the high settings instead of max settings, plus RT enabled on medium. Doesn't really change things by much. Thankfully, this still looks very good without ray tracing, and you can achieve way higher FPS. Damn, this is high settings with FSR2 and no RT, and it gets 100 plus. Jesus. That's a major increase in performance. Holy crap. Let me see it at native resolution using the high settings preset, actually. There's no need to restart the game, by the way, to apply these settings. I'm also noticing that this isn't as sharp of an image quality as with DLAA on the NVIDIA side of things, but they do have DLSS 4 implemented in this game already, and we only have FSR2 here and FSR2 native AA, so obviously it's going to look worse. But you do have AFMF2 as well, which, I mean, is frame generation through the driver, so let's try that out, actually. And yep, I can notice it is smoother at the moment, but we can't really see the FPS from AFMF2 inside of MSI Afterburner, so we actually need to bring up the Radeon overlay there to see the actual FPS that are being displayed on the monitor now. And it's around 130, 140, as you can see. That's pretty crazy. It feels really smooth at the moment. Input lag is minimal, really. And you know what? Let's select the quality FSR again with the ray tracing on medium and AFMF2 at the same time. The frame gen through the driver. It's a little bit softer, instantly noticeable. It's actually really noisy around the character now. Yeah, I mean, driver-based FG isn't really that amazing in terms of picture quality. It has a lot of artifacts. It's nice to have, but I wouldn't use it, and I wouldn't use ray tracing whatsoever in this title with a 9070. Next up, we got Rockstar's masterpiece, my friends, Red Dead Redemption 2. Buttery smooth here with 100 FPS to start this off. And we're playing at 1440p resolution using maximum settings aside from a couple of them. The water physics is not maxed out and the tree tessellation is turned off. These are extremely demanding settings. And well, if you turn those off, the game will look basically the same as completely maxed out and you gain quite a lot of FPS. Now, in terms of anti-aliasing, this is where this kind of sucks a little bit because you're stuck with TAA or MSAA, MSAA being super demanding in this title, so yeah, it will wreck your FPS, not really the perfect AA solution, and TAA being really soft. It pretty much sucks, basically, you know? Now, you can still play the game like this. A ton of people already enjoyed Red Dead Redemption 2 with TAA, but on NVIDIA GPUs and with the RTX 5070, I actually tried it with DLAA, and I overrode DLSS with DLAA and DLSS 4 as well, and that provides a much cleaner picture quality in Red Dead Redemption 2. I've seen the other side, you know? I've seen Red Dead Redemption 2, the crispiest that it can get, and this is not it. Anyway, let's go with Bob here. Sing for us, Bob, so we can feel more happy, please. Beautiful. Thank you. Finally, we're in Strawberry Town, which is pretty demanding of an area here, and it's only dropping into, what, the 90s? We got a little stutter so far. That will happen more often in Saint Denis, by the way, especially during nighttime, but FPS are actually very similar to what we see here. But yeah, it's an almost flawless experience. It's almost as good as it gets here in Red Dead Redemption 2 at 1440p resolution. So no complaints here, but that anti-aliasing from the game, meh. Now we got another huge game from Rockstar, GTA 5. This is the enhanced edition at 1440p, very high ray tracing settings with FSR 3 native AA. Couldn't override it with FSR 4, but it still looks really good this way. And we get around 100 plus FPS inside. I guess it's gonna be 100 plus FPS on average, honestly. Let's start counting the frame rates as well. And yeah, it's buttery smooth, guys. To be expected. This is with ray tracing as well, but this GPU handles ray tracing pretty well. Alright, now we're gonna see some Bob's friends. All of these are Bob's friends. Oh, wait a second. Oh, come on. Alright, that was barely a hit. Oh. Sorry, people. Sorry. Alright, I tried. I was really trying not to hit anyone, but I don't care anymore. And here we go, my friends. We're almost there. Oh, it opened our trunk. Okay, interesting. Or it's maybe not the trunk because the motor is actually there, right? On this car. Oh, come on. Buddy, please. Oh, no. We're gonna miss Jack, dude. Seriously. Please, Jack, be there. We took way too long. Anyway, dropping into the 90s around here. Hello, Jack. How you going? You waited for us. Thankfully. Oh, boy. How's it going, buddy? Can you talk to us? Look at that. Look at that. Beautiful. All right, my friends. So even here inside of Bob's bushes and stuff like that, which is down here, by the way, shouldn't drop too much. All right, into the 80s, as you can see, even 70s at times. So pretty intensive stuff. And goodbye, Bob. Hey, there we go. It is extremely nice of an experience with the ray tracing enabled as well. And this is native resolution. No need to utilize any upscalers at all or frame generation or AFMF2 through the driver and stuff. This game doesn't support FG, by the way. So yeah, just set it to very high ray tracing settings and forget it. It's gonna be perfect. And by the way, on maximum RT settings, I tried it for a little bit. It was down into the 60s and 70s, sometimes 50s, so I wouldn't touch that. This is already good enough. It looks basically the same as maximum, so these are the settings to go with a 9070. Next, we got Indiana Jones and the Great Circle at 1440p using the Supreme Settings preset. No path tracing yet. Okay, I'll try it later. And native resolution, guys. And, Well, it gets us 80s, as you can see, with the R LOD scale set to 5, so we don't have pop-in issues, actually. It looks way better like this, and it stays at 60 plus FPS pretty much at all times. Let's run around here for a little bit, go into the next section of this area in Peru. This is exactly where we start, actually, inside of this title, so I'm not giving you spoilers or anything, alright? But do make sure that you use the R LOD scale 5 in the console, because otherwise it will look really bad with a lot of pop-in issues and stuff, which are actually kind of fixed by the use of path tracing. But path tracing is way too intensive for this card. It's also way too intensive for some other cards on the green team, like the 5070 and the 4070 Super and stuff like that. It just wrecks FPS every single time, so it's not really ideal. I think these are the adequate settings for a card in this performance tier. But if you want to dip your toes into some path tracing, guys, well, let's check it out. Over here with these settings, it never drops from 60. You keep the native resolution, so that's nice, and that's what I'd utilize. But let's use like low path tracing here. Look at that VRAM usage, by the way. The allocation, 15 gigabytes. This is where the 5070 struggles a lot because it runs out of VRAM and we'd need to drop down like the textures, for example, for it to stay relevant. So having 16 gigabytes is very nice here, but the performance with path tracing is very poor, as you can see. 30 FPS, still at native resolution, so that's expected, of course, from path tracing here. The frame time is so weird, actually. It's all over the place there. So to utilize path tracing properly here, you'd need to utilize some FSR as well, like quality FSR. Even then, 20s. Yeah, it's not gonna happen, guys, with a 9070. What about like performance FSR? Will it save it? No, not really. Still around the same thing, with worse visuals, of course. And actually, enabling FSR also enables frame generation here, the option. So we do have frame generation after all. That's nice to see, but it's not enough to make it playable, of course. First of all, that frame time has some weird stuff happening. What the hell? What was that? Second of all, now with the frame generation enabled, since the baseline FPS were so low, there is a freak ton of input lag, so it's not playable. So stay away from path tracing with this GPU. Next up we got S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2, an extremely intensive title based on UE5 once again, with Lumen and stuff, and it seems like it's getting exactly the same FPS as the RTX 5070 did. We're playing here with the same settings as that GPU, 1440p resolution, epic settings preset, FSR native AA, but I have overrode it in the Radeon settings to FSR 4, so we're using FSR 4 here, and like this, it looks just as good as the LA8. It's a really nice anti-aliasing in this title. It provides much better image quality than with FSR 3.1, which is the normal FSR for this title, once again. So I highly recommend you to enable FSR 4 in the Radeon settings for this one to use as native AA, because if you want to use the upscaler, there is a bit of an issue with it in this title. I've also noticed that with Oblivion in the full video for Oblivion that I made on the RX 9070, and FSR 4 just has some trouble with Unreal Engine's vegetation, it seems like. So if I stand right here, for example, we're getting 60 FPS, not too bad, you know. For a first-person shooter, I'd like to see 60 plus all of the time, and for the price of the GPU as well, but it is what it is. Let's go use quality FSR here. And again, this is FSR 4, as you can see. And well, at first glance, it looks like it's doing a decent job, but if you look closely, and if I do this real quick, see that? See the amount of noise on the vegetation here. It's really crazy, and it's very noticeable. Sometimes it will take a while to disappear as well. Over here on these bushes, it's super pixelated and noisy. I mean, over here, it looks great, but as soon as you turn your camera around like this, see that? It's awful. The FPS numbers are actually really good, so it's a good improvement there, but FSR 4 with vegetation in UE5, it's just not having it. I've tested 2 games so far, 2 UE5 games with FSR4, and it doesn't work properly here. So that's a big shame. So what you need to do to achieve 60 plus FPS all of the time while keeping the epic settings is enable some frame generation. The baseline FPS with FSR native AA were at around 60, you know, on average. So that's a good baseline to enable frame generation on top of, and when you do so, you get up into the 100s. Around this area it would drop into the 50s previously, so you can notice a little bit more latency creeping into the picture here. Well, not the picture, but you can feel the latency with your mouse, right? But outside of here, while you're shooting things and stuff, and even here, honestly, if you want to shoot Bob in the face, for example, there he is. Wait a second. Goodbye, Bob. You can definitely do that and achieve a good experience here in S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. Again, there is a bit of input lag. Oh, that was a massive stutter. UE5, guys. It was way too smooth, you know? I was actually going to comment on that. This is way flatter of a frame time graph without the frame generation than the RTX 5070's frame time graph in this game. And that's something that I also saw in Oblivion, you know? I feel like UE5 titles tend to have a little bit of a flatter frame time on these Radeon 9000 series cards. That's pretty good. But hey, most of the time, like 98% of the time, it's going to be a smooth experience here. Still adequately responsive, in my opinion. You can feel the input lag once again, but you can get used to it instantly. Like in 10 seconds, I'm used to it. And yeah, it looks great at the same time on epic settings with FSR4 native AA. And now we're playing some Battlefield. Not the best Battlefield title, unfortunately, but it's the latest one. And we're playing at 1440p resolution using the ultra settings here with no ray tracing or dynamic resolution scale. It's full resolution here. And let's start counting our FPS. Try to get a few more kills around here. Not too bad. Hey, come on. Get that guy. There we go. Good stuff. Alright, wait a second, get another one there, alright. I know there's another one in that building, yeah, there he is. Gosh, that was too late. Alright, let's reload and start pushing them over here on A2. Let's do this. Okay, there's a sniper guy over there. Alright. Go from behind, yes, flank them bastards a little bit here. Come on, what is that, dude? Okay. Hey. I thought that was an enemy guy there. Alright, all good. I like this game, guys. You know, it's not the best Battlefield once again, but it's still a lot of fun to play. Just not as good as the others. From behind. Come on. Throw a grenade, let's go. Okay, sniper bastards everywhere. That was terrible. Let's push them. Nice. Nope. No. So, well, guys, I got no complaints here when it comes to the performance in Battlefield 2042. Absolute buttery smooth experience. I was gonna go for a great play there. But yeah, 180 FPS average almost. Pretty good stuff. Next up is Horizon Forbidden West. We're playing at 1440p resolution using FSR native AA, and I did the override thingy, so we're using it with FSR4 and on maximum settings, which is basically a very high with isotropic filtering set to 16 times. And, well, it does quite a bit better of a job than, say, the RTX 5070 in this particular title. I'm not sure if it's because the 5070 runs out of VRAM and it lowers performance because of that, because this GPU is actually consuming 13 gigabytes, or not consuming, allocating 13 gigabytes, but that's the number that we should go by, not really the usage there under it. In some games, the allocation matters more than the usage. This is one of them, and yeah, it's holding 100 FPS on average. Well, as I say that, it drops to 99, but it's a much smoother experience than the 5070, which got 83 FPS average. And over here, if you wanted to utilize some frame generation, let's use it over native resolution, because baseline FPS were amazing already. You can do so absolutely fine. VRAM increases by a little bit, but we still have some headroom there. And now we're getting 160s, 150s. a true buttery smooth experience here for a high refresh rate monitor. So that is really awesome to see. And Nvidia are the ones who made frame generation in the first place. They kind of invented it, right? Yet they put so little VRAM on their GPUs that it ends up not being as usable. But obviously the Nvidia GPU also has other advantages like the DLSS4, wider support for that as well. Yeah. Anyway, trade-offs here and there for either team here, really. And before we go to the conclusion, I'll have more games there, so don't go anywhere. We got Fortnite at 1440p using DirectX 12 and the epic settings without Nanite or Lumen at the moment. What is going on? What is that? What? Okay, we gotta check that out, guys. Well, good thing it's also inside of a big forest area with a lot of vegetation. That should be very GPU intensive. Really smooth experience right now, actually. I'm gonna start counting the FPS and let's check this out. The game still looks really good even though we're not utilizing hardware ray tracing or Lumen at the moment. Okay, some people are actually killing that guy over there. Who is killing him? That's not a person, is it? Or maybe it is? A player? Alright, yes, it's a player. Okay, we got him. Good stuff. How did he not kill me? I have no idea. And the thing is gone at this point. What? No! It was like a portal or something, right? But guys, I'm really surprised about the lack of stuttering at the moment. That's the most surprising thing. I even call this Stutter Night sometimes instead of Fortnite, right? And we're here running really fast with this thing. We got a car actually, so let's check it out inside of the car, driving around. But so far, so good. Those 1% lows are super stable. I am liking this experience here. But what if you do like Stutter Night and the stutters that come with it? Well, I got you covered then. We're at 1440p DX12 using the Epic preset this time around, which enables Nanite and Lumen. Honestly, guys, this is still super decent. I did not see that coming. This is maxed out now. Did they improve stability in this game? Probably, right? See that? We touch the ground. Frame times are still flat. I am so confused. Are we actually playing Fortnite now? How come it's Unreal Engine 5? Come on. There we go. I like sending those guys flying onto the sky and stuff. It's so funny, actually. Wait a second. Maybe we should just kill this guy, maybe? Yes, I can definitely feel the slowdown compared to what we saw previously, guys. It's not as smooth, it's not as responsive, turning the camera around and stuff, especially closer to 60 FPS. Yeah, with RT, you likely want to utilize some TSR or maybe even XeSS. Yeah, probably XeSS. Let's do ultra quality XeSS. And we're still using ray tracing as well, and the graphics quality is still pretty good. I can tell that like the grass and stuff like that is a little bit more fuzzy here. There's some noise, some softness issue, but you do get way higher FPS at the same time. So if you're using RT, I think I will recommend it with some XeSS on top of it. Still looks great, and now you got the best lighting there is in this title. Not bad. And it is conclusion time, my friends. I'll still have 5 more games running right here while we talk a little bit about the pros and cons of the RX 9070. So, on the good side of things, this is a very efficient GPU. It can be undervolted and achieve pretty much the same performance with much less power consumption, which is really nice. A lot of people are actually doing that. And also, it can be overclocked and achieve a little bit higher performance as well. But that's the same thing for pretty much all of the GPUs out there in the market right now this generation. Still, when compared to like the 5070 or even the XT variant of the 9070 here, it is more efficient than both of those GPUs. It also provided really good 1440p performance. As you saw, it's a fast 1440p gamer here. It runs even really intensive titles at like high or ultra settings at 1440p native resolution without the need of utilizing upscaling. And for some reason, it's the smoothest GPU that I've tried so far in Unreal Engine 5 titles. Another great improvement over the 7900 GRE GPU, which this is replacing at the same price point, is the ray tracing performance. AMD actually did it right this time, and it's much closer to the RTX 5070, which is its true competitor in price, than in previous generations, right? And then it also has 4 more gigabytes of VRAM than the competition, which I feel like it's the adequate VRAM for this price point, and the 5070 should have had 16 gigabytes. Now, where the NVIDIA GPUs still have a big advantage, in my opinion, is with DLSS 4, because FSR 4 is actually really great when it works right, and as an anti-aliasing, it works wonders. It's really close to the DLAA stuff that you get on NVIDIA GPUs. I have no problems using it, and this can actually use that absolutely fine at 1440p resolution, but it needs to be available in more titles, and the override needs to work a little bit better in terms of the upscaler, because I have seen some issues. Like, it seems like UE5 titles have issues with vegetation, especially when it comes to FSR 4. But if they manage to fix that shimmering issue and implement it in more games, FSR 4 is a true competitor to DLSS 4. So what should you buy, the RX 9070 or the RTX 5070? I think this provides a little bit better value at the exact same price, same as MSRP cards, you know, because of those 16 gigabytes of VRAM, slightly faster performance in rasterization, although again, ray tracing is still a little bit faster on a 5070. But if you want to do RT, especially with upscaling, 5070 is the way to go still, even though it pains me to say that because it's a 4070 Super, you know, that's released a year ago. Ah, boy, the improvements this generation aren't really that big. Even this, you know, compared to the 7900 GRE or the 4070 Super as well, it's not that much faster, but at least it's a bigger improvement because of ray tracing performance compared to what the AMD had previously, basically. And also the efficiency gains are definitely there and are noticeable as well. Now, the big problem is, in my opinion, you should neither get this or the 5070. You should get just the 9070 XT, which I haven't tested yet, but that has 5070 Ti performance, almost, a little bit slower, I guess. But talking MSRPs, it's $50 more than the 9070 over here, so that's a no-brainer. And finally, guys, if you are in Europe, particularly in Spain, Germany, or Portugal, I have checked Amazon Spain, Amazon Germany, and some local stores here in Portugal, and here the 5070 seems to be around 50 to 100 euros cheaper than this. So I guess here, that's the best choice. I don't know why these are so expensive. I really don't want it to fall. But yeah, the cheapest 9070 that I saw was at 710 euros, and the cheapest 5070 that I saw here was 635 euros. So that's quite a bit of a difference there for GPUs that should be priced the same. So basically, it all depends on price, it all depends on how much you value 16 gigabytes of VRAM and efficiency here with this card in particular, and whether or not you care about ray tracing a lot, or you want to play at native resolution or with upscaling. So there's that, my friends. That's been it for this one. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one very soon. Expect a ton more videos on the 9070 over here, and I hope AMD sends the XT as well so we can take a look. I'll catch you in the next one. As always, love you all. Bye-bye.